Good morning, traders. Welcome to our trading room. It's Monday morning, very early, so we're going to go through everything step by step. I'll take these out as we go. This recording will be out on YouTube, so to my YouTube viewers, if you like it, please leave your comment, click the like, and share it somewhere. Somebody would see it. If you like it, they would probably like it too. And we have an ongoing course that is still going on and probably will go all into January. If you would like to join the course, if you would like to join our training, if you would like to join our group, if you'd like to have the recordings, the live sessions we're doing, which means the New York and the London live sessions we do, if you'd like to join those and see how we trade, send me a message on Skype. Skype is in the description, the very top of the description. And I will send you the details of how you can do that. With that said, let's move on. Dollar index. So if you've been tracking what we've been looking with dollar index from the time it starts to come down is that the option is that they're making either this as a running flat ends here and we're trying to go back up, or this becomes an expanding flat and we drop. Right now, it's looking like the drop is more likely. At this point, when it started to go back to the top of that first impulse, right? At that point in time, the correction, the top here looks more likely. But once it starts to drop out of that range, then you start to think, well, two things is possible now. I think the expanding flat is still possible and we keep dropping. That's one option. Or the second option is that this is just a bigger correction and still upside. Now, the deeper this comes, even if it's a bigger correction, right? Let's say this is a separate big correction. Let's assume that that was a correction and so on. This is the first impulse or possible bigger correction. So this drops some more, consolidate here, come back here, go back there. Then all this becomes a bigger correction for downside. Now, it could be much more complicated than that, but we don't go into the complications. We let the pieces develop and then look at them. Because if you start, fantasize of how complicated this pattern could get, it will be a long process, probably an hour. So I'm going to give you step-by-step, pieces by pieces, and how we trade them, how we look at each piece and how we identify trades. So we saw this as dropping. Those were sell setups. We saw this as dropping. Those were sell setups. I see this as dropping. Right now it's incomplete, but I see this as a pattern that will drop one more, maybe one more like this, maybe just break the low. So our job would be to get it from the top here and get that drop. Get the drop before it reaches the bottom. Get it from the top, somewhere from the top here, get that drop before it happens. Right? Because all it might do is break this low and go back up. Now, if it keeps dropping, we'll keep selling like this. But then when we see the turning point, we're going to well, now it's at the bottom of this impulse. And this is where it becomes difficult because a classical pattern would look like this. 1, 2, 3. Now, this one didn't make exactly a flat in here, which is what we were expecting. Instead, it's coming down really slow. So I'm going to go into the lower time frame to see what it looks like. What it looks like is that you've got a sharp move up and you're kind of coming down slowly. That is okay. It doesn't mean we haven't got what it means that whatever we're going to get might be something else, a running flat. Now, whether or not it breaks this low would only change the pattern we're looking for, not the structure of the market. So pattern-wise, if it breaks here, go back there, come here, break the low, well, good. We want it to go back there, not break that top, or break the top for expanding flat, not break the top for running flat, and then drop. We will definitely be looking for this. We will also be buying this. We might be selling this one and we will buy this as well. Those are short-term trades. If you know what you're buying and the distance it can go or the range it can go, then it makes the trade much easier for you because you are aware where you have to start being careful to get out of the trade. So the whole point is, if we get a buy setup here, we will take it. Now, in this case, I don't think we will take this one. There is a buy setup forming here. I'm not sure we'll take this one because this one is back at the bottom. So this one will only probably move up this much, make a flat there, just like this has a flat here, and probably drop one more. But should that reverse, make a flag here, we're definitely going for this trade. Should be an equivalent about this. If it keeps going up, well, good, we will stay with it, and then we will figure out which part of this we will go with as a contracting flat. I hate to make forecasts on contracting flats because they exist everywhere, and most of them are just part of a possible running flat or part of a regular flat. So we don't do forecasts on the contracting flat. If afterwards we don't have the complete pattern and it's moving away, then we will see whether there was a possibility for that. Most times there are. So we're not going to look at that. We're still going to expect this to be a running flat. So I put this, I'll move this down slightly here, assuming that from somewhere here, we're going to get this as a running flat. Come to the bottom and then go back up. We're still keeping this pattern intact because this is most likely what I think would happen. We will see how that changes and how we trade it, right? Depends on the change. This is still a sharp impulse. So at any given time, we're expecting this thing to go back up. Go back up for this sharp impulse. What happens internally here, we'll look at it. We'll see whether we get the classical pattern we're looking for, whether it's a more complex pattern, whether something changes. But a buy setup is what we're looking for. The lower it comes into this, the more you're trying to get that buy setup back to the top. Right? So even if there's a contracting flat in there or not, that would be irrelevant. Once you get a good setup here, you will buy it to go back to the top. So most likely, I'm not sure we'll get this buy, but we could get this one. So we'll be looking for a buy setup here. There is a sell setup forming here. I'm not sure that's a great idea at the bottom here. It was a good idea from the top, but from here, that's not a good idea. Silver, I expect an up move, but definitely didn't expect that because what I was thinking was we were within this range and we were within this one. Well, this could be a correction of its own, a bigger correction. But I didn't think this one was going to go that far. That would probably just come back to about this stop and maybe come back here. So if any one of you bought this for this trade, you did well. If you didn't, then, well, it's gone. So what we look for now, if it's breaking out, what would be the structure? What are we looking at right now? So we're breaking out of this, which means that makes this 1, 2, 3. As long as we get a consolidation here, we're buying. Right? Now, here's the question. Can this come back right back into here and come back and retest the low? Yeah, that's possible. And we've seen that happen many times. So we're not excluding that possibility. We're just saying that when it breaks out, there's a higher probability for it to continue to go up. Right? Not come down, but continue to go up. So this buy here was perfect to the top. There was a buy at the top break even, and there was another buy to this top. Once it started to consolidate here, well, it didn't give us the consolidation we were looking for. I thought I was expecting something more complex in here. So what we're going to do is we'll assume that these are corrections of their own. Probably this piece is a flat of its own here. Go with this as a flat of its own here. That's possible. That is just a flat on the move to the upside. This is still pretty sharp, and we don't have anything for that. So if we get a sell setup here, if for whatever reason we get a sell setup here, we'd assume that they're going to do this and then go back up, eventually giving us a running flat. So we will go with that option. Look for the sell setup here, but only to give you this, which means I don't think it's going to totally drop back to the bottom. We're going to get a running flat here and then take off like that. So do we have anything here? Well, it kind of looking like they're making a small flag here on the 15. As long as it stays as a small flag on the 15, it will be a trade to the downside, which means we want to see all the consolidation in this range. You want to see everything stays here. If that happens, we sell it. If it goes back to the top, let it come here, and then you buy it. Now, if you're not a wave analysis trader, and most of you aren't, sorry guys, I do have a cold, so if accidentally I cough or something like that, you'll have to excuse me. Most of you aren't wave analysis traders, so you would just make the decision that, okay, he just said a sell, and then he said a buy. Right? And most traders do that, right? Especially with lack of knowledge of wave analysis and how we look at it. They said, well, he just said sell and buy. I'm not sure he knows what he's doing. So I'm going to take a minute to explain to you guys. And if you're new to this method, you would definitely want to look at more of my videos, right? At least the last series of videos, which we did live. We did it live on YouTube. It was like 10 videos. Every day, twice we did live sessions. You definitely want to look at that. That's about a week ago. So go look at them. What we're looking at is what pattern was created and where that pattern is likely going to go. Now, we're expecting a move down. That doesn't mean that the move is going to happen now or that it's even going to happen. Right? So should it happen, what we would look for is an impulse and a small flag in this range. If that flag turns into a flat, which means it consolidated back to the top, come back here, but don't break the low or break the low slightly, then that becomes a buy setup. It's going to make one more impulse to the upside. One more impulse to the upside. That's all we'll be trading that for, one more impulse. And every next flag will be one more impulse. See? So there's a difference whether you get a flag for downside or you get a flat for upside. And if that concept is not getting to you, if you don't understand it, you have no idea what I'm talking about, then you need to pay attention more to this, because that is what is going to make the difference in you being a successful trader. You're struggling to understand what's happening, right? You guessing your way as to where you think it's going to go, because these patterns tend to work. 80% of the time, it will do exactly what it did previously when you see a similar pattern. 20% of the time, it might slightly vary. And that's okay. You don't need to get 100% to win. You need an edge in the market. That's all you need to be a winning trader, a slight edge in the market. You're not going to get 100% success. A slight edge will put you on the side of success, right? So if we're looking for a flag, and then we'll be looking for a move down that should be the equivalent of this. Sorry, wrong one. Should be the equivalent of this. By the way, you can see the flag that I'm talking about. If you look at this one, see that little flag there? That would have been a sell to come only to this level. And guess what happened? It went further. So in this case, should this go further? Good for you. Here was another sell setup that became a break-even trade, because we thought this one was going to drop. And that became a break-even trade. See? So should we take this? Absolutely. No second guessing. So that would be a sell setup if it forms. Gold, very similar structure, right? We've got this move down, this drop here. It's kind of a 1, 2, 3. So hope that this one comes straight down. We're looking at a possible running flat. Now, there are a series of these sharp moves as you're going up, like this one, this one. I'm putting this as an expanding flat, not necessarily it belongs to that expanding flat. This one could probably have been a running flat, but we don't have enough consolidation here, so I'm putting them separately. But I do think this 1, 2, 3 could form one here. This could be a flat of its own as well. And we just make another flat here and continue to go. It's still a sell setup, at least for the C wave down. So what you'll be looking for in here to decide if you're going to sell this is the depth of the pullback in this impulse. I think so far it's good. If it stays here, that's okay. Right? If it stays here and, you know, they consolidate more in this range, that's a good sell setup. Right now it's really, really small. I'm in the 15 minutes and there's not much there. I'll take these out. These are the top of the structure that we broke already. Right? So we'll see what happens from that point. Take all of these out and look for this trade to the downside. Let's see if we get that. As of now, we're waiting for a sell setup. That could change into a buy if it goes higher, then make a flat here. Then we'll definitely be buying. Gold in the big picture, we're just breaking the top of this. And that is a problem because this one is relatively sharp. See this? It does have a deep correction here. Right in that piece, but it's relatively sharp with a 1, 2, 3 structure, which means that eventually this could come back all the way to the bottom here and then go back up. We don't necessarily need to break the low. We just need to come here. And it doesn't mean it's coming now. You could come here, go back up there, and then do that. You could make another flat here, go back, and then do this. Eventually, it still becomes a running flat for upside. So right now, this is convincing us that the bigger picture is going way back to this top. See the breakout of this tells us that, yeah, that is gone, which means that we will relook at this structure. This one would either be part of this one as an expanding flat or part of this as a running flat. We'll relook at the structure. We'll see which patterns fit with which and how we look at that, right? So I think this piece here is making a running flat and then we're going up. The first trade we're looking for is a sell setup. If it goes higher, it would be a buy setup, but not buying this piece going up when it pulls back, right? You're not trying to buy this piece. You're trying to let us, if this comes to the top, let it pull back, make a flat, and that becomes a buy. If it stays in this range, we're selling, right? If it stays like this, that's a sell setup. If it goes back to the top, we'll be looking for a buy setup. Euro. All of them last week had this sharp move that we were expecting one more down. This one, it didn't happen. I still think it's going to happen. So we'll wait somewhere here for it. And we'll probably still get this up move, which is going to make a big running flat now because this would have to come back from this point. Right? So that sharp move down there that happened is telling us that they're possibly making a big running flat. Right, because we don't have this either. So I expect this to probably come here, go back to the top, come down here, complete this one, go up, complete that, come back here, complete this flat. And then, yeah, we'll probably have one more up. At least one more up within this structure. So, yeah, looks good. We had one here. We had one here. We're making a bigger one there. This would probably be an equivalent of this one. I think the first impulse in it, well, the first impulse is slightly bigger than this, but similar move. I don't think we'll have it big as this because this first impulse was pretty huge. So whenever this finish what it's doing, we're getting this move. We can trade all three of those possible moves we forecast there. Should it happen, we'll trade all of them, and then definitely we'll be looking for the next move up. So would this continue to go up? Well, we'll see. Pretty much like the dollar index. Dollar index has a similar structure right now forming, right? Only for the downside. Similar structure here, right? Same thing, but this one will be for the downside. We'll expect this to actually drop. And we'll expect euro to go up. So structurally, we have the same thing, which is good. If they're lined up properly, then it's making sense in the bigger picture of what's going to happen. I don't think this is going to drop because we did go back all the way to the top. So this should go up one more. I think you can make an argument for this being a running flat here. You can make an argument for this being a running flat here. You can make an argument for this being a flat here. All right, so you need this to come back here. We have a buy setup first. Well, it all depends on whether you want to take that trade. I don't know how high it's going to go. So you could consider if you want to take that trade to the upside. The first move should be to the upside, but I think I'll be careful because I still need the bigger move to happen. We need that drop to happen to say, well, this is completed. So even if this goes up and you take the trade, you have to be a lot more cautious, right? Because there's a small move down here that should happen. Then the next move should be to the upside. This should probably go back up there. And that's when I expect this to drop. So maybe some of us will look at that trade and see that it's possible to take, depending on the range, where you get the flag to the upside, how much you think it's going to go. But from there, it should come down for this one. So I think we can also wait for this to happen. Pong. Pong is an easy one. You just need a buy. We haven't got this here, but this is a buy setup. That's pretty easy. But you can make an argument for this being a flat of its own, because if we do have a flat here. And we did break the low of that flat, right? So you can make an argument for that being a flat of its own there. It's not the best one, not the ideal one, but it did happen. This is just a deeper pullback within this one. I don't think that needs anything separate. And we're getting a flat here for upside. So this was upside. We knew that was going to be up. This could be one more up. And then we'll see where that goes. We're not going to get this. We're looking for this as a running flat. So from there, I think we should come down back. We're looking at this as really sharp, relatively sharp. So maybe this one would come back here and then go, or it could totally drop to the bottom because the whole structure looks downside, right? This whole big flat here. And we've got this one. We've got this sharp one and this sharp one. We have this, but we haven't got anything for it. So there's a good chance it could come back all the way here, make this flat, go back up to the top, and maybe still drop, right? So we go back at the top of the structure where we are. We do have some divergence, I think, on the 1 hour. Let me go back and show that. Yeah, we still have 1 hour divergence, like quite a lot starting from this point. So that is normal if everything is in a running flat, right? If all of this is making a running flat, the divergence is pretty normal. So on the 15, we're waiting for this to make one more up. It's a buy setup. You have to be really, really careful knowing that you have divergence in the 1 hour. There's no telling how high it's going to go, right? It could just break the top and turn, or it could, break the top and make a move as big as this, maybe even bigger. So if you're going to buy this, and I think we should, you're buying it with a lot of caution. This looks like it's going to drop first. It doesn't look like it's ready for the upside as yet. Yeah, this piece looks like it's trying to drop first. Let's see. Internally, you have 1, 2, 3. You have 1, 2, 3. You have 1, 2, 3. There's no need for it to drop. It should take off. And if it goes that slow, it's probably going to just break the top and come back, right? If it's going that slow, and we'll probably see divergence here even in the 15 minutes. So there's a very good chance that this goes, put an inch slightly above here. That this one just go break the top and then turn. It's a pretty risky trade if you want to take it, right? Because we have a lot of sharp moves down that hasn't been fulfilled. And there's a good chance they could drop them. So it's a buy setup with a lot of caution. Just traders are aware, right? By that, I mean our traders will follow their trade management rules to get out really quick if it doesn't go. If you're watching this on YouTube, you probably just watch it and I wouldn't advise taking the trade if you're not very good at wave analysis and how to get out of trade. Aussie dollar, okay, we were expecting this to make a 1, 2, 3 come back here and go. It came back pretty deep, so let's see, is it dropping now? Can you take this off? Can we assume that this was all the flat? This is the top and we're coming down back for something like this. That is a possibility. We can make that argument, or we can also make an argument for a huge expanding flat here on the upside. So a lot depends on what we see here. Let's see what this looks like. Right now, it looks like a small running flat for downside. This here looks like a small running flat for downside. Should it drop, you can put an entry here for the sell. So you can put an entry here for the sell if it's going to drop. If they're going back up, you'd have to wait for this to make a flag. You'd have to wait for this to start making a flag here. And then we will consider the buy here, and then we'll consider this probably an expanding flat. That's a possibility. You could also make an argument for this being the flat, that being the top coming down here. Both of those options will work. I think we can go with a sell right now because we do have the possibility for a small running flat there. 5 minutes, you'll see that. Can make an argument for a small running flat. But should this stay here longer, then we will change it to buy sell. So if that turns out to be a flag, we go for the buy for one more upside and see where that takes us. It's pretty slow. It's going up. There's a lot of divergence, I think, on the 1 hour. Yeah, you can see that starting from this point. There is a lot of divergence even internally in this. So the upside is limited, which means if we get the sell, we take it. Put the entry order for the sell. That's a good idea. Even if it drops, there is this sharp move here also that we're looking at. We haven't got anything for that. See when it went up, they had this sharp drop and we're going up. And from that point, we have a lot of divergence, right? Actually, from this point, we have a lot of divergence in it. So I wouldn't be surprised if this comes back here and then go back up. That would just give us a big running flat. So go for the sell. We put the entry order for the sell and we'll see where that takes us. Just keep an eye on it. If it's not a running flat, it will keep going up. It wouldn't tag you most likely. New Zealand dollar, you're getting a nice flag here. I think this is clearly a flag. As of now, it looks like a flag, but we need a running flat also. Right? We need a small running flat in here, which means that it might look like a flag now, but this one would slowly crawl up to the top and then we'll get a small running flat in there. Which means if we get a running flat like this, we go make a new high and that will lead you back to the top here. That should take you back to the top here. Slowly maybe, but back to the top here. And we will still be in this structure. Let's see if they break out of this structure. Because right now, this is what we're doing. Right? And there's a lot of divergence in that at the top there. I think we can see that. See? There's a lot of divergence. We also have this wave here, which is relatively sharp. It's not that sharp. It's a 3-wave structure. But it's not a flat structure. It's a sharp structure, but it's a 3-wave structure. So if and when this get there, would it make another 1, 2, 3 down here for a running flat? That would be perfect. And then you can go back up. We're still within this whole thing, right? Can this take off like a rocket straight to the top and this is its own correction? That's possible. Right? This could be a 1, 2, 3 as its own correction. And this one is taking off. Let's see what's happening here. It's kind of consolidating here, which is strange because we are expecting this to take off. Right? Not if the running flat is that, then it should go. Now this one actually consolidates here a lot before it goes. So let's wait and see. If this stays here longer, this consolidation stays longer. I mean, something like this. If it stays there like that, we might consider a sell, one more down. Let's see what happens. What if this is not part of that? I don't know, contracting flat, make a top, come back for this one, or probably even for the bigger one. We did break this top, so any downside is possible too. Let's wait and see. Go back to the Swiss. Swiss also is kind of making a channel downwards. We expected this to drop. It dropped, but it didn't drop the way you expected. It's kind of still consolidating, which means that this might still drop. This here might still drop. It's not going anywhere. It looks like it's still going to drop here. And then look for the buy. I don't think the sell is a good idea anymore, even if it drops. Right? It's dropping really slow. So the sell by itself might not be a great idea. Let's wait and see. I don't like the sell setup anymore. Wait for the buy. Yen. Okay, you can look for a buy setup from here going up. I think we should get it. We can make an argument for this as a running flat. Yeah, that should work, like a 1, 2, 3, something like that, probably. If we get a flag here, we take that trade up, at least one more impulse up. There is no sell setup. This thing has got to consolidate quite a lot here before we decide we're selling that, right? So can we make an argument for this being a flat for downside? It is still a flat, right? It's a 1, 2, 3. So is it a flat for upside or is it a flat for total downside? This is the sharp move up. So I'm looking at this as a flat for upside. Let it come here, let it make a flag and then go. You can put a buy entry here if you think it's going to take off immediately. I don't think that's going to happen, but if you think it will do that, we are in this impulse down and that impulse up. So a lot depends on whether this goes now, we're going to retest the top, or if this works its way down to the bottom. And then we get a flat here for downside. So we're in a B correction now. If this thing stays here, you know, like this, drop again, drop again, drop again, drop again, and we get this. And we totally go down. If it goes up from here, it can probably retest the top. Maybe come back here and then go, making it a running flat. So well, you just have to wait, right? There's no way to knowing which is it until it starts showing you what it's doing. Can we sell this if it's going to drop? You don't know that until you get a flag. And I mean a really good flag to say, yeah, there's a flag like this or a flag like this for one more drop. And then you can say, okay, we'll take that one. CAD. Okay, so CAD did drop. This one didn't go up. We were thinking this would go up from there. It actually dropped one more. I don't know, maybe a contracting flat like this. There is a small contracting. Well, it's not even contracting. It did break the low, but it's very small. Any buy setup will take. Right now, the question is whether we think this is a contracting flat or whether we're going to get an expanding flat or running flat. Whether we will get this as a running flat from here. I think the contracting flat looks good, but we still have to be open for the possibility of a running flat, which means this would be an expanding flat in here. This would be a running flat, come back to the low, then go back up, and then come back and then go, right? Because we still have this one. So if we think this one is completed, as a contracting flat, with this drop happening, then we will go back for this. So the buy setup is worth taking, either for this move or for this move, right? So I'm going to put both of them, either for this move to the top there, or just a short move there to come back down from here. Right? Then go back up. And then come down. So if we get a buy setup here, we should take it. Let's see if we have a buy setup. Not really. I don't know if that wick is real, but if that wick is real, that makes a lot of trouble there. This would have been a buy setup. But if that wick is real, you consider whether it's making a running flat. So if this drops here, we'll go with the running flat and then upside. If it stays here, treat it as a flag and buy. So right now it looks like a flag for upside, but if it drops, we're not selling. We're not going for the sell because that sharp wave means it's just going to drop here and go back up. We look for the buy setup. And especially from the bottom here, you're not really looking for a sell setup. You're looking for a buy setup. Even if it retests the low, let them retest the low. Remember, we're in a bigger channel as well. We're in this one. Right? And this doesn't look like it's ready to drop because that is a sharp pullback there. So we need to complete these patterns and then decide whether we're dropping. Let's see. We go to the Euros. And we're still in that sideways move. Still haven't come out of it as yet. We're now coming out of this flat here. Right, we're now coming out of that flat. And that means we would look at this piece as the flat, right? We were expecting this to go up for the sharp move and we got it here. So can we assume that this now just completed this flat? I think we can make that assumption. If we looked at this differently, and since this is a lower point, let me just make sure that that is the lowest point. If that is the lowest point in the chart, then we could make an argument whether this was the flat and this was a slow move down, right? Those are the options. This is the flat that is a slow move down, or this one here is a bigger flat. And that was just a small version of a contracting flat. Now it's easy to know which is going to happen. You don't have to really worry about that. This one is going to drop here, and then we're going to look for the upside, or this one is going to consolidate here, and then we buy it. That's easy. It's that simple. If it consolidates here, we will go with this option, and we'll buy this. If it drops, whether or not you get the sell set up will depend on whether you get a flag, and I don't think you might get a flag. We'll let it drop, and then we'll see. But this is a big correction. This is relatively sharp. This whole thing came down really, really slow. So even if we were to retest this low here, with or without a flag, we're definitely going to be going back up for this one. Right, that up move is definitely going to happen. From this point, I think we'll put it like this. And if that happens, we're retesting the low because we'll be looking at this as a flat. All this correction in here means a running flat is very likely. And that would bring us back to the bottom and then maybe more upside. All right, we're still looking at this whole structure as incomplete. It's not dropping. This is not the impulse dropping. I don't think so. I think that's still part of the correction. We're in this one and we're in this one. There's a lot of correction in this whole piece. Right, there's no part of this that's moving impulsively. Right, the whole thing is looking like a mess. Even the impulses look really messy. Right, except for these two impulses, which are more or less sharp. All of them, this up move was really slow. That up move was slow. This up move was slow. Right, this down move here was pretty slow. But the flatness of this is what is important. So if we do this and we go here and then we come back here, we might still be doing this for a while before we come here. So first we want to move to the upside. If this makes a flag, we buy. If it drops here, we look for the buy setup. We might not get that sell. If it's going to drop, it's going to be one single drop. Euro New Zealand, this could have been a buy. We had this pattern, same kind of situation, 1, 2, 3, then drop again. This one you could have actually put the end shorter. We had the end shorter, and on Friday, the end shorter on Friday was higher because there wasn't another low. Then it made another low. So if you were still following the end shorter, you should put it above the last impulse here. That drop. So let's take this out and assume you didn't put it over the weekend. We're going up now, so we can put an end shorter here. Let this correction play out for a while. Give it some time. It's just 2 candles on the daily and the hourly, sorry. So I'll say let's give it some time to make a flag, and then that's a buy setup. Stay about 2 spread away. We're looking for this trade up. You want a flag like this here now. You want us to stay here for a while. Next 4, 5, 6 hours, and then we're getting that trade to the upside. So we're making the assumption now that this is going. Now, I don't think we'll be pretty much wrong about that, but we could slightly go wrong because you can make an argument for this being a 1, 2, 3. And this piece is a contracting flat of its own. In that case, we will retest the low and then go. Now, it's easy. If this stays here, we buy. We're not looking for the sell. So if it stays there, we buy. We're looking for this buy setup to go. And we're looking for a move the equivalent of this. Right? Let's see if we get it. Take this out. Put it back there. And then we're looking for this downside before we get the next upside. And that completes the flat, and then go back up one more. We may or may not put this piece in the whole big correction, depending on how it goes, how this piece goes, and if it goes really high, or if it stops and turns. If for whatever reason it stopped at the top and decide to come back down, right? If it stops here and decide to go back down, we will go with this as a breaking of the top as a running flat. Now, I don't think it necessarily needs to belong to that because this could be separate. This whole piece here could be its own correction. Let's see, because we did break the top. That could be an impulse. So let's see if we can get that buy, the sell, then the buy. That should be good trading for the week. This is a good one to keep your focus on because it's simple, it's understandable, and if it behaves the way we expect it, it just makes your life easier. Look for a buy setup. Euro yen. Okay, could go up some more, but I think we could drop. I'm hoping they get a drop like this. We'll go with a bigger flat. If it's going up, you don't have a trade. If it's dropping, you do have a trade, right? You need a flag like this. See that? You need this to make a flag like that. And then we'll sell it to come to the bottom here. If we get a flag. So wait for flag, sell. If it goes back to the top, this will be a flat. That will be about 12 hours. You'll have enough time to make that decision. Okay. EuroCAD. Okay, we're expecting a big drop here. And it kind of started dropping, but then it pulls back up. So this one, we were expecting to break the top and then come down. It actually drop and go back up. So you have an option here. You could go with an expanding flat, which makes sense to me. An expanding flat like that. That makes sense. If you get a flag here, sell it. Go to the 15. Right, you can make an argument for 1, 2, 3. If that is the case, then all we need is this to drop here. Make a flag, and then we sell that. Wait for the flag, because I'm not sure whether this is part of this here or whether it will be part of this one. So if we get a flag here when it comes down, we're selling. If it stays where it is and consolidate, we'll have to come back and reconsider whether we even want to buy it. But should this drop now, it's going to drop off the bigger uptrend. Right, this one is going to drop off this uptrend, confirm the downside. Right, what it would confirm is we're not making another flat like this or another flat like this. Right, this is the impulse down. So if we're making another flat, it could probably work its way up to the top, maybe even come back here. We get a bigger flat in here and then one more up. So you want this to actually drop to the bottom and then all the way to the bottom there. Right, so keep your eyes on this. This should be a good sell setup if we get it. I think we're waiting for it to drop and make a sell setup. Euro Swiss, also big picture, both sides possible. Either as a big running flat there with this one. I think you guys were discussing this morning also. Or either we go up or we come back down and then go. So if we're going to come back down, there is a sell setup forming right now. This correction, you can put the entry order. It wouldn't bother you. It's never going to tag if it's not dropping. Now you could go with this as a contract, a regular flat where we did break the low, but not the best one. This is the top and we're going down. Or we can go with this as a running flat. Maybe expanding flat because we broke both top and bottom. Expanding flat. This one work its way up to the top and then drop. I think if this goes like this, it's dropping. Right? If it goes like that, it's going to drop. Whether the drop is going to be all the way to the downside or a bigger correction is a separate thing. We'll see. But selling this here makes sense. So what you can do is always use the last impulse. In this case, this was pretty sharp. So unless we put it with this sharp pullback here for a running flat, we have to be careful of moving it higher. But if you have to move it higher, it will be here. That's where the last impulse would be. Entry order under the low, probably 2 spread under the low. Should this drop, you want the trade. If it drops, starts to consolidate, you know what to do. Right? If it keeps going up, it wouldn't bother you. You don't have to worry about that. Europound, we get another sell setup here. It's still dropping. You can put an entry order under the low. This time we're breaking out of the entire structure. Right, we're breaking out of that structure. Is it we're going down all the way down? The breakout of that structure is very important because we could be coming all the way to the bottom, not in a single straight line, but in a big move down, right? And I think we do have a lot of divergence there. So that is a good sell setup. We'll see whether that drops and if it takes us anywhere. Pause. We're in the middle of this sideways kind of movement, and it still hasn't come down yet for this one. So we'll have to move everything a little more this way. And a little more this way. Now it'll be a running flat. It's kind of a 1, 2, 3 running flat. Go back up for this one. Then come down for this. And then go back up for this. It's the same thing. I'm just moving them because it's getting bigger. The consolidation itself is getting bigger. So yep, we're there. Look for a sell setup at the top here. Wait for this to come down, give you a flag, go for this trade. And any flag will go with that trade. So you want this to come down here, make a little flag, take that trade to the bottom. We're looking for this move down. And then this move up back. Look for a sell setup. Bang in. 1 second, guys.
Anil, no voice.
Okay, sorry guys. Yeah, sorry about that. So we're going to do some of the cryptos now, and then we'll do 1 or 2 stocks, and we'll just call it off. For YouTube traders who would want to see more, join us live. Send me a Skype message. I'll give you the idea how to join us live, right? Sorry, give you the details how to do that. So what I was showing is that we completed this flat, which we expected last week. We completed this flat, which we expected last week. Now we need to complete this one. So we're actually coming down. So I think it could get here, and then we'll be looking for the upside. After that is completed, I would complete this flat at the top here for upside. We're still going up, right? And that's a big flat at the top. So if we understand correctly what this is doing, I think we might put all of this as a bigger running flat from this point. If we understand what this is doing, when it comes here, there's at least one more impulse up. So first you go for this sell, and then you can go for one more impulse up. Where would that take us? Well, we're still in the uptrend, right? So that's just one more move up. Just one more impulse. There's no point of how far it's going to go because we don't know that. It's definitely going to break the top when it starts to go back up, but let's see. It could just break the top and come down back again all the way back to the bottom. So every time it breaks the top, you be careful, take your profit, move your stops to get out for profit, right? So this is downside now. As of today, it's a short-term sell. We don't have a setup, but they're making a sell setup. On the 1 hour, that's a sell setup coming down back. And then the upside. You can ignore the sell and wait for it to come here and then look for a buy setup. Ethereum should be the same thing. Yes, it's coming down. Where to? Let's see where that is going to come to. We didn't break that top, so we're still within this one then. See, we haven't broken that top. So that means when this comes here, when this comes here, we're going to go back and retest that top. See? This would be a flat here. We'll retest the top, and then we'll see whether they come down here or whether they break out. Structurally, this one should come down. Like structurally, we don't know whether Bitcoin is going to come down. Right? Bitcoin doesn't have to come down. Right? There's no structure that says it could just keep going. But structurally, this thing is telling us that there is a very good chance that when you get there, you come back here. There's a really good chance for that, right? So structurally, we know that this could come back here. That doesn't necessarily mean that this one break out. It could go back up again, but it could also break out and drop. So when any of the cryptos you buy now will break the top, you'll have to be very cautious. So this is going to come down a little and go back up. I think this should come back here. Go back up to the top. And then we can look for this sell. So you can actually wait for it to come down and then buy. If you want to sell it down, might be worth doing that. If you don't want to, let it drop here and then look for the buy. Can it go from here? It could. You could make an argument that this is all the correction is going, but I think because we didn't break top, there's a higher probability for it to come lower. XRP, well, this is, if you would, I hope you didn't get tagged on that. You have to take it here, and if it tags you there, then you have to look for an exit now, which means once this go back up, close the trade, right? Can it go up now? Let's see if this is going to go back up. Yeah, it could go back up. So not a big deal. On this side, you don't want to let this drop too much. I wouldn't probably running flat like that. There's a possibility for that. You can make an argument for a 1, 2, 3 running flat. So any consolidation, any chance, because it's coming back to this low. And then from there, most likely we're going to break this low. Right? We're coming down like this. So there's a higher probability of this coming all the way to break this low here. And then probably go back up. Okay, that would be a flat inside of this structure. Okay. Inside of this, well, it could literally drop because we already have this here. We already have that, then this could totally retest the low. Retest this low, not just this low, but this low. But there's also a chance that it just tagged this low and go back up, making this a flat. Right? There is that chance that this correction just gets bigger. So first you want to trade only back to the bottom here, and if you're lucky, it gets to this bottom, and then we look for upside. Once it breaks any of those too low and we get buy setups, we'll take them. Idea. Well, we're still in this, and I don't think this is going to break out. Again, the only reason I don't think this is going to break out is the depth of this pullback here to the bottom, and it's pretty sharp. So there is a good chance that this does come back to the bottom and then go back up. Let's see, 4 hours. We're consolidating at the top, so we might still make a new high. This one definitely looks like it's going to make a new high. If this makes a new high, we might come back with this as a contracting flat. This is a running flat. And that could be the new high that turns. So there might be the last impulse up here, and that's it. If you're going to buy that one, you're going to buy it with a lot of caution. Right? How high it's going to go, well, I don't know. It could make a sudden spike and come back. That one made a sudden spike there and then come back. There's a lot of time this will make a really huge spike and then came back. So I wouldn't be surprised if this makes a huge spike here and then come right back down. BNB, this is downside. There's one up move here. This flat is likely go back up for this impulse, make a flat there, and then drop. So there's an up move here, not necessarily a big one, and then it's a drop. All right, this would definitely, if this starts coming down, we're breaking this low. And that impulse tells me the higher probability this is going to come down. All right, so let's see. We're looking to retest that low. Dash. I think, yeah, this could go lower too. It looks a little more upside at this point right now. Looks a little more like this, but I think we could drop like this again. So we'll see. We're still in this consolidation. So there's a buy setup here. Hope that it breaks out. I don't think it will, but you can take it with the hope that it breaks out. This whole thing is flat. So if that whole thing is flat, it's telling us that, well, we're not making the impulse to the upside as yet. They will eventually test this low and then go. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean this one, right? So we have to take one trade at a time. This whole structure looks upside, but this piece here is not looking upside. You do have a small running flat here for a buy. So there's a buy setup there for this move. Maybe it takes off. There's a lot of sharp moves here, too many sharp moves. This might be the correction. And this might be the start of the first flat. Right? And then you get everything else and then upside. So let's wait and see. If that consolidation stays here, that's good. That's upside. AVA, well, we're just going sideways. If you got tagged, you close it. It's still sideways. It's just a bigger sideways now. It's this one. Put the entry above the top here now. And that is still sideways. So this might be all the flat, and this one might take off now. Oh, this could go a lot. If that takes off, it could pretty much go a lot. So the buy is a good idea. This one is an active buy you can put. Okay, let's just look at this one with the last one because this was going very nice. It's kind of still going. It did come down here. They actually came down a little. It came down enough. It doesn't have to go all the way to the bottom. I think we can make an argument for this as the running flat. That makes sense. Because you did have a lot of correction in here. Right? So you could go with a 1, 2, 3. Maybe like that. This is 1, 2, 3. No. So this would have to be some kind of an expanding flat in there. For a 1, 2, 3. Which means this could come back down. This could come back here and then go. It might be still an ongoing running flat. We haven't completed it. So buying at the top there would be a bad idea. Let it break out, take this off. That was showing the top how to buy. Buying at the top there is a bad idea. Let's see if it comes back to the bottom here. and then you buy. Right, there's a good chance that this comes back here first, and then maybe go back up. It's complex. There's a lot of pieces in it, and that means that this thing could get much more complex than we think. Longer up and down before it goes out. But it's looking upside. It's looking like running flats pattern for upside. All right, so let's see. Let it come down, go up, and then take off. Try to get it always from the bottom. So, okay, guys, with that said, we'll end with the weekly outlook. For my YouTube trades, if you manage to be all the way to the end there, send me a message on Skype. You're probably interested in what we do. Thank you. Trade safe, trade with care, and stay safe. Let me stop the recording.